Welcome into the Blueprint. It is a great day because Michigan has announced their next head coach. I'm just kidding. That is not true. It's a great day because it was Devin Gardner's birthday yesterday. So happy birthday to you, Dev. How you doing?
Dude, I'm like, wait, they did? Where's the rundown? I didn't look at the notes. Yes,
I thought that'd be a good birthday present for you if we had a new head coach.
That was good. That was actually, I don't know. You might be on General Hospital like Stephen A. sometime. Yeah, that was pretty good acting. That was very good. But yes, I'm a year older, which seems ridiculous. Like, how does it keep happening to me? I don't know. But
you haven't aged,
thankful.
Though. You look
very thankful.
Same youthful. I mean, your skin looks great. You look great.
Hey, man,
same
I
as
just got to shed a few pounds, and I'll be good to go.
I see you working out on Instagram, though. You're putting in the work.
Try to do what I can. Yep, of course. But the real reason it's such a great day is because we got Mack Brown in the next segment. Do you understand how cool this is for you and me? But me specifically because I changed my throwing motion, and Coach Rod Smith, my quarterback coach, when I went to Michigan, will attest to this. I changed my throwing motion. This is how crazy I was as a kid. Changed my throwing motion because I wanted to be like Vince Young. Because at first I was Michael Vick, but then I got taller than him, at 12. And then I realized I can't run that fast. So I had to transition. I had to find a new guy. And by the time I got to high school, I decided that I was going to wear number 10 because the school didn't allow single digits. Okay, perfectly. Who wears number 10? At this time, Vince Young is tearing the college football world up. Started with our guys in blue, which we don't want to talk about. And I said, well, he throws sidearm. That must be the way. So I started throwing sidearm and changed all my muscles, everything. And it was a very tough process changing it back to over the top. But that's a real thing that happened because thought that I was going to become Vince Young.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
And we get to talk to Mack Brown. This is great.
And it is a great segment. He lays out a little bit of everything, the history, his thoughts on Michigan, where they're at, where they go, what they do with Bryce. You guys will really enjoy it. Of course, we got to get to the news that there isn't news. So I'm going to do my best to kind of lay this out here, Dev.
That's good. The news that there is no news.
Well, I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah,
it's when this breaks, the timeline is Michigan's going to act really quickly. In fact, Michigan knew this was coming, so they've already been interviewing and anticipating this. Kalen DeBoer is a lock. Well, that actually is not true. We just found out Kalen DeBoer put out a statement, said that's not going to happen. There is an extension to be signed that has not been signed, so we'll keep monitoring that. Then it was Kenny Dillingham. It seemed like a done deal. He's following so-and-so on social media. So-and-so's following him. Wake up the next day, and Dillingham talks to the media, and it doesn't seem like that is a lock. Aside from that, it's been pretty much whispers. I have not been able to confirm who is even making the decision at this point. I mean, that seems to be uncertain, whether it's the board, regents, what involvement Ward Manuel has at this point. It is extremely chaotic and messy and muddy. And I say that just to say, be careful who you guys are listening to on social media, making promises about what they know and what they think they know, because it's been proven time and time again to be false. I just wanted to get your thoughts, Dev, on, does this harm Michigan? Would this deter you if you were a head coach? Or what is your thoughts been seeing this all unfold?
I think that it's a lot unknown, like you said, but I don't think anything is sullied or, anybody's turning their head and saying, no, I can't do. Michigan is a desirable job, and you'll hear how desirable when we talk to Mack Brown, but I don't think any coaches, I think they're doing what they have to do. A lot of these coaches are still with their teams, and Kalen DeBoer is in the playoff. He has to say that. He wants to win first, right? He may want to be the Michigan coach. Maybe. We don't know. But we know one thing for certain. He wants to win, and it's hard to win when there are things floating around, right? Another point, coaches don't have to have these conversations. Their agents have these conversations. So him saying that I haven't talked to Michigan or whatever he says, that's true.
Yeah.
He's got a team to coach, and he wants to win a football game. He has a chance to win a national championship, right? So I just think that everybody should just take a deep breath. I know you're itching. You want to know every single thing, but let's get a little opportunity for us to have some serendipitous occasions, right? That's my favorite thing. One of my favorite words, serendipity, right? Where things happen unexpected, right? So maybe we get a guy that we never even suspected, or maybe we get a guy that everybody said that we weren't going to get, that we did really want, right? So I just think everybody should take a deep breath, obviously subscribe to the Blueprint, watch the Blueprint, and you'll get all the information you need when we know things. But I just think that everybody's stressing themselves out about nothing, because if you want Kalen DeBoer, he's coaching. And he's not going to sacrifice winning a national championship just so he can become the coach at the University of Michigan. Now, I know everybody's saying, well, Lane did it. Well, these are two different humans. Two different humans. And I think that everybody should just take a deep breath, take a little chill pill, and don't worry. When we know, you'll know.
Yeah. So this is what I do know. So right now, Michigan has an interim president. What we also know is Michigan has hired an outside law firm to investigate the handling of all this process. And I think that's really wise, because right now, trust has been, broken in terms of what people, how people view the Block M. So you have to hire an outside firm. You have to investigate this top down. What you would hope if you're Michigan is that upon the hiring of the next coach, there is no more news that breaks. You want to find out every single possible amount of information, make public what needs to be made public, and that way you can move on. So that is ongoing right now, and I don't think it's something you rush through either, because that would further break trust. So that could be a reason why the timeline is moving in the way that the timeline is moving. I would say DeBoer was never a done deal, but DeBoer's statement doesn't mean that he's off the table. Dillingham was never a done deal. Dillingham saying that he's loyal to Arizona State does not mean he's off the table. Jed Fish is another name that gets thrown around. I think he's been far overlooked by Michigan's media. He's a potential candidate. Biff Poggi, I believe, was interviewed. I was reported he was one of the guys that was interviewed because he's on campus. So,
Jake, have you ever seen Law Abiding Citizens?
I've seen some shows.
So Law Abiding Citizens is a great movie, and anybody watching, you'll remember. But there's a scene where, the premise is something happens to a guy, his family. Those men who did the thing, broke into his house, they go on trial. The guy that actually did all the bad stuff, he gets off with probation or whatever. And so he goes on this 10-year kind of period of, I'm going to get everybody who was involved in this back, right? So he's just very methodical in his approach. And so he gets called in after his first thing that happens, and I'm kind of skipping over a lot. It's a great movie. And so he's sitting in front of Jamie Foxx, who's the prosecuting attorney. And he says, he basically needs a confession. We know you did it. We need the confession. He's like, did you kill Ronald Darby? Oh, I wanted him dead. I planned it in my head all the time, right? And he gave a lot of answers like that. And then after, he says, all right, we're good. And he said, you should probably sit back down, because what did I say? I didn't say I killed him. I said I want him dead. Who wouldn't? He killed my family. Of course I wanted him dead. I said I thought it through my head over and over. Who wouldn't fantasize about the death of somebody that killed their significant other or what have you? And so that's basically what I was looking at when it was Dillingham, right? Because he got really emotional. And yes, he did say that his sister lives next door and his parents are 2 doors down and his nephew and his son can play with his, you know what I mean? He did say all that. That doesn't mean that he won't leave Arizona State. He's saying, I like this situation. However, there's another situation that I'm not going to address, period. So I just think that everybody should just take a deep breath. All of these guys are still on the table. This is Michigan. It's a good job. It's a great job. Young players, a lot of opportunity to excel at a pace and at a level where you just can't at some of these other places. Take a deep breath. Like we said, when we know, you'll know.
It's a great point. It's like lawyer talk. Dillingham, everything he said was truthful.
It was perfect.
And we understand it. But he didn't say, I am committed to Arizona State long-term. I am signing the extension later today. And until that happens,
it's genius. It's exactly how he should do it, in my opinion.
Smart. Yeah. Now, I can update from inside the building. The players, they're innocent in this. They have had some of their best practices over these past few days, some of their best meetings. The players have each individually met with Biff Poggi, as well as Biff has met with some of their parents. He's doing a great job of stabilizing the program. The players just want to play. They want to get back in their rhythm and their routine. They want to get off their phones and they want to go play. So that is trending in the right direction. I think it would be a very strong statement to see the team take the field, compete, and hopefully for our sake, beat Texas. That would be huge, huge, huge for the program. But then there's this other piece. What I've been told is the boosters were uncertain about this whole situation. They were hesitant to continue giving if the situation hadn't changed. And now based on the direction where this program's going, it's back to being full speed ahead from a resource commitment. So whatever we've seen from Michigan over these past 2 years, I think you and I both agree that the next head coach will be an elevation of expectations in terms of head coaching experience, but there's also going to be a renewed amount of resources committed to the program. So I'd expect to see Michigan, back to where we know they should be on a year in, year out basis, Steph.
I got a name, Jake. I got a name. What about Mack Brown? Since he's on the show, I don't see why not.
They should consult with him, if nothing else.
They should certainly consult with him. And I think that there's going to be some cool stories told on the other side. What do you think, Jake?
I can't wait. Why wait? Let's get to it.
Hey, like and subscribe. We've got Mack Brown coming up next. And I'm like a kid in a candy store. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
All right, we're back here on the Blueprint, and as promised, we are joined by a very special guest. Excited to bring in Mack Brown, obviously the legendary coach of Texas, North Carolina, also the host of the Stampede podcast with Vince Young and Bob Ballou. Coach, it's great to see you. How are you doing?
Jake and Devin, great to see you guys, and thanks for having me on. I'm a Michigan fan, and we were talking off camera about how much I love Coach Schembechler, and he started the Michigan man, and how tough, and then I love Coach Carr. Of course, Lloyd and I coached against each other in the Rose Bowl. That was a great game that it comes down to the last seconds, and we kick a field goal, and Michigan blocks it, and it still goes through. So Lloyd, and we had it poorly blocked, and the guy came through, and he hits it on his fingers. If he hits it in mid-hand, then Michigan beats Texas in the Rose Bowl, and I don't know that we play USC the next year for the national championship game. But I've always thought, and I thought when the two teams played in the Rose Bowl, that these two universities are so much alike. Mm-hmm. They're great academic institutions. They're two of the winningest programs in the history of college football. They recruit really, really good students at a high level. And that's why I was so proud when in that game, it was the first time that these two universities had ever played, and of course, Texas couldn't play in the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. And I grew up watching the Rose Bowl as a kid at home with my brothers and my mom and dad. So that was a thrill for me.
Coach, it's really cool to have you on, and I feel like what I'm hearing is you're an honorary Wolverine, right? So although you will be rooting for Texas, you do have some love for us in the maize and blue. And Jake, we've got to get our background together. Take a look. I mean, you see what the greatness that is behind Coach Mack. I mean, it's incredible. I mean,
I don't think I could ever get my background like that.
I had Sally go out and rent some and bring them in and awesome. Put them in. It is though. I am a fan. Coach Schembechler. As a younger coach, you looked up to Coach Schembechler.
Yeah.
And you looked up to Coach Royal and Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno and Lou Holtz, and those were guys that had done what you wanted to do. And then Coach started doing ABC, and he came to a game once at North Carolina, and I went out to eat dinner with him before the game about a Thursday night, and I said, Coach, how do you recruit? You got 12 guys left, and you only have 4 scholarships, but you won all 12. He said, it's easy. He said, take the one you like. He said, they'll like you. If you don't like them, they're not going to like you anyway, and they're not going to play for you in the fourth quarter. You better take guys you like. They're all good enough.
Take the ones you like.
They're all academically good enough, and that really changed my life in recruiting because it's the same way I hired. He said, also, don't hire anybody you don't like. You got to spend all day with these guys, and you're miserable, and they're miserable with you. And then, of course, I wanted he and Coach Royal to be the honorary captains for our game in the Rose Bowl, and it was great to see Coach out there and spend time with them. You knew our game was starting to change then, guys, when Mickey Mouse got to flip the coin instead of Coach Schembechler or Coach Royal. But I remember asking Coach before the game, I said, Coach, you got a good team. This ought to be a good game. We don't run the ball good enough. We're not tough. We're just not a tough team. So you got to love him. And we sure lost a great one when we lost Coach Schembechler. And I love Coach Carr till this day. He's just so classy and such a good man and got a great heart. And it's fun to watch his grandson now as a quarterback at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. could probably run it for 300 yards and he'd still find the play on film to say, here's where we fell short. I mean, there's a standard here. That's what makes the great ones so great. I did want to, Coach, before we get into the game, obviously the news coming out of Ann Arbor, Michigan is in a active coaching search right now. And I kind of wanted to approach it in a way that only you would be able to answer this. And I just wanted to ask you your opinion of, take yourself back to, your young coaching career. What is this job like, to be considered or be pursuing the head coaching job at the University of Michigan? How is that job viewed from the outside world?
Jake, Michigan's one of the best jobs in the country. It's one of the winningest. You have facilities, you have money. It's all based on commitment. So many of these jobs have a higher expectation to win than they have commitment to help you win. Michigan's got that commitment. They're going to give you whatever you need. When I got to Texas, I remember DeLoss Dodd said, do I have enough budget to buy these jackets for the coaches to go out recruiting? He said, Coach, you got no budget. It's unlimited, man. In North Carolina, we had a budget. I had to be careful what I bought. He said, no.
Hey, put that back. We can't get that.
No, you can't. You can only buy 3 of those. You can't buy 4. It's
like when your kid's at the grocery store and it's like, hey, no, put that back. We can't get that one. Can't get that.
Put those cookies back. We can't have 4 cookies. We can have 3.
And today's college football, that's got to be incredibly difficult to navigate, right? Because you just know when you line up your team against a team like Texas or a team like Michigan, you know that they're being funded differently. How do you deal with that?
Well, what you do is that's why we need to change the calendar first. What we're talking about, it's so difficult for coaches right now to be preparing for a bowl game, to be preparing for playoffs, and talking to people about changing jobs. It's really hard. And then you've got the portal opening on January 2nd, so Michigan has to hurry because the portal, those kids can leave, they can stay. You're foolish to think kids aren't talking to their agents, aren't talking to people.
Yeah,
I asked the other day, why don't people go in the portal right now? And they said they are.
Yeah, they're technically in it.
Are already talking, man.
It's not official, but they're in it.
No, we just haven't announced that we're in the portal. We're in the portal because we're looking and we're listening, and so different than it was with us. You go right now and you're going in to talk to your coach. You're talking to the collective. Your agent's talking. I want to raise. I'm at the end of my contract. Well, we don't think your value to us is worth that raise. So, okay, then I'm going to leave. Okay, leave. And all that gets confusing. And then you've got a bowl game stuck in the way. Texas has got a large number of guys that aren't going to play in the bowl game. They're going to opt out. Now, I remember in our game with Michigan in the Rose Bowl, Cedric Benson was a great running back. We lost him about 5 years ago to a motorcycle accident. And he was playing in the game. He was a number 1 draft pick right after the game. And here he is. He hyperextends his knee on the first play. He goes to the sideline and he's sitting there, and the doctors are checking his knee, and they said, "You're okay, but you shouldn't play anymore because you're a first-round draft pick, and you may get hurt and cost yourself a lot of money." He said, "Tape it up, man. This is Texas and Michigan." So he plays in the game. He does okay, but he allows Vince Young to go off because Michigan had to tackle Cedric. Yeah. So, and they didn't know he's hurt. So after the game, I talked to the team, I talked to the media, I come back in, everybody's out of that locker room except myself and Cedric Benson. He's sitting over in the corner, and you guys will relate to this, and we've lost some of this. He's in full uniform, and he's crying. And I walked over, and I said, "Hey, bud, what's wrong? Is it your knee?" He said, "No, Coach, it's not my knee." And I said, "Why are you crying? Why are you sitting here by yourself?" He said, "This is the last time I'll ever have a Texas football uniform on, and I don't want to take it off." And that's kind of what we've lost. Yeah. You all had teammates that are in your wedding and best friends, and now we got transfers. Yeah. And we don't have the same family. We don't have the same community. And that's what we're missing. And Michigan is a great place. So they'll get a great coach. All the publicity is bad. Penn State ended up with a great coach, and it was all over the place. But it's hard right now. It's hard because the coaches are put in an awful position. I'm talking to my team about playing the game. I'm talking to my agent about that job. Sounds good. I'm talking to the media about it. I'm not talking to anybody about that job.
It's an emotional roller coaster is what it is.
It's an emotional roller coaster. You're multitasking, but it also puts you in a position where it's really, really hard to be honest. and coaches want to be honest, and coaches want to be fair, and you loved your coaches. You want to be honest with your players, and when you're sitting there talking to another school and you're looking them right in the face and saying, "I'm here, man. I'm loyal." So it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and Coach, I talked to you off camera about how big of a fan of Vince Young I was, and you didn't know this, but I'm a big fan of Cedric Benson. All things that were Texas because of Vince Young, and a fan of you as well. So you had a quarterback in Vince Young who was, a lot of people say he might be the best high school football player ever. Like, he was incredible in high school. And then Michigan right now has a Bryce Underwood, right, who he's different than Vince Young's bringing up because he didn't play right away. This young kid did. What are the similarities that you see, and how do you see the path forward? Because like you said when we were on break, that Vince Young had a chance to watch, learn, and then he had to play, whereas Bryce didn't get that chance, and maybe he created some bad habits. Just take us through how you would approach this situation if you become the coach at University of Michigan and this young kid has so much talent, but he has some bad habits. How do you get him out of that, and what do you see his future looking like?
Yeah, I watched Bryce because obviously he committed to LSU and then back to Michigan, and then Michigan hired Chip Lindsey, who was our offensive coordinator last year at North Carolina. So I've watched it very closely this year, and Vince is 6'5", 6'6". He's 235 when he was playing, probably 250 now. I don't want to say that to Vince, but he's a little bigger. He could be a tight end, Jake, instead of quarterback. But he has watched Bryce too, and they're so tall, they're so athletic, they've got quick arms. So what we had to do is Vince watched for a year, and he didn't want to, but he needed to. So he watched, and we had him in every meeting, we had him at every game. He listened and he learned. And then the next year, we had a quarterback, Chance Mock, who was really good. He had completed 17 touchdown passes, only thrown one interception, but we couldn't run the ball. Our offensive line was really young. Vince could really young. He could really run, but he was inconsistent as a passer at an early age. So what we did is we said, okay, we're 3-2, and we went with Vince Young and said, we've got to run the ball. You can't win games without running the ball.
Yeah.
So we just ran the ball, and then, Devin, we took we had 75 plays that were way too many, and we cut them down and said, Vince, what do you want to do? Give us 5 runs and 5 passes to start with. What are your favorite 5 runs and 5 passes? Well, nobody could tackle him.
Yeah.
And then you had Cedric Benson in there with him, and you couldn't tackle both of them.
Yeah, and that's when you really got to make a decision. Which one are you going to allow?
You do. And then that opened up the passing game, and then we started protecting better, and then all of a sudden we end up playing Michigan and then win a national championship. And Vince was such a vital part of that, but he was also very confident. He was fun. He would dance in the huddle but compete his tail off. So it was a very unique personality, which it still is today. I'm loving doing the podcast with him because I said, like you two, we've got some stories we can tell on the podcast and some we can't.
Off limits.
There's some that Vince will say. I said,
don't say that. No, Coach, I don't want that one out.
We don't need to go there. Nobody believe it anyway. So that's it. But that's what I see with Bryce. I think he will be a Vince Young. He will be a great player because he can run. Yeah. And modern day quarterbacks that can't run, they don't win games because you got to be able to use your feet to make those plays when everybody's covered. And those guys are so athletic that are rushing the passer. They're more athletic than the guys protecting. So you got to have a guy that can run, and Bryce can do that. I love watching him play. I'm excited about watching him play in the game with Texas.
Is this a story that you share with Chip Lindsey? Because when we watched the film and we studied, it looked like it was a conversation mid-season with Bryce and said, hey, what pass plays do you like? And he just found different ways to run those same pass plays from different formations to try to make sure it's simple for him so he doesn't have to think as much.
Devin, I was on Chip all last year because we had Sam Howell 2 years ago, and we had Drake May. And then we had Max Johnson, who transferred in from Texas A&M, and he broke his hip in 3 places in the third quarter of the first game. So we didn't have a quarterback that had played me. So I said, Chip, be simple, look complicated, be simple.
Look complicated,
and
be simple.
Also make sure that you repeat successful plays. So go over and over and over and make sure they're confident and be fresh. So I'm sure that's what Chip.
He listened to you.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely listened to you.
Well, and that's what you have to do with a young one. And people would say, well, he's too simple. Well, you got to be as simple as your player needs to be at the time.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what Chip was a air raid guy in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So he has gone. Then he went to Malzahn at Auburn, where they're running the ball. So he's a high school coach that was very successful, and he's very smart. And he's going to adjust. I said, Chip, it's not your offense, man. It's the players' offense.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to do what they do best. So I can't stand a guy saying this is my offense. They don't have labels. They don't have anybody's offense. There's not a Mack Brown offense. There's a Vince Young and a Colt McCoy, and there's a lot of different offenses, and you just tweak it. Major Applewhite and Chris Sims were very different than Vince Young. Mm-hmm. All great players, all successful, but all needed to use a little different offense.
Yeah, nice. Coach, I take me into your mind here, because when you're coaching and mentoring Vince Young, there was no transfer portal. There wasn't social media. There's always noise, especially when you're quarterback of a major program, but it's different these days. And I'm just curious kind of how you would approach mentoring a young and talented quarterback, because, sometimes you might try to coach a guy hard. They might not like it and they enter the transfer portal. The players suddenly have a ton of leverage. So how do you toe that line? What would be your advice to a coach mentoring a quarterback as talented as Bryce?
Jake, it's a great question. I never changed who I was as a coach. You guys wanted to win. You guys wanted to be pushed. You guys wanted to be as good as you could possibly be. So as long as you knew I cared about you, and I wasn't a guy that was going to embarrass somebody. Mm-hmm. I never felt like I didn't want to be cussed. I didn't want somebody grabbing me. So why would me grabbing you and cussing you and embarrassing you in front of your coaches or the other players or the media or the fans help? When they're down, you pick them up. So a guy drops a pass, do you cuss him? That makes no sense whatsoever. So we had Drake May, and Drake May got offered probably 4 times more money than we could afford to pay him at North Carolina to leave. And our offensive coordinator left. So there's some similarities right now to Michigan. There were uncertainties. Mm-hmm. And Drake came in and said, Coach, number one, I don't want to leave. I love this place. And I said, well, we'll pay you this much money. And I said, it's not near as much as you're being offered. And he said, I don't care. Thank you. But I want to win. And I said, okay, we're going to hire an offensive coordinator. What do you want? Tell me what you need. What do you need to help you get better? He said, I need to get somebody to help me with my feet. I'm kind of all over the place. He said, I need to get somebody that's really fundamentally sound that'll help keep me in the pocket because I drift. And if I'm not careful, I drift into the rush, and it hurts our guys trying to protect. And he said, and I want somebody to look at my motion. Sometimes I come a little here. I want to get it over the top. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what you do. Why don't you help me interview? Why don't you, I'm going to get you a list of 3 or 4 guys. And Chip Lindsey was one of those. And I said, then I'm going to let you interview them on Zoom separately from me. And then we're going to come back and see if we've got a common ground. Thank goodness, guys, he and I wanted the same guy. Because if I'd come in and he said, I don't want him, I'd say,
well,
we got a problem.
I was hoping we would get the same guy.
Yeah, but it worked out. And then they already had a bond before we started.
Nice.
So it was really easy for them because Drake
That's
had
a
bought
unique
in.
way to do it.
Yeah, he had bought into who we brought in. So it wasn't like, I can't believe he got this guy, and I don't like this guy. And
yeah, he picked him.
He picked him.
At least you made him think he picked him. Yeah, you're a smart coach.
But it worked. It worked because he wanted to be involved. And that way, when Chip walked in for the first day, they'd already had a relationship. And then he's selling the other kids on this guy. I really like this guy.
I got you.
We're good. So it cut out all the gray completely.
But it seems like such a great exercise, Dev. I wanted to ask you this, you're having a quarterback in Drake May that's clearly so talented. And this only works if Drake is
self-aware.
Knows what his strengths, his weaknesses, where he needs to improve, what he needs to do to improve. Like, Devin, is that something that you did as a quarterback? Is this something you picked up over the years? Is this something you think Bryce has done or should do?
Well, certainly. I've always been a self-reflective person, right? I remember I used to steal the tight ends room when you guys were in class and I was in grad school just to see what are the things I'm really struggling with and how can we kind of navigate around. You remember our offensive line wasn't great. Well, how can I do different things to make sure? But the thing is that comes with maturity. And do we know if Bryce Underwood has that maturity just yet? Throughout the season, obviously, we've outlined a lot of different things. Michigan State game still going, taking pictures in the crowd, all these different kind of things. Is the maturity there to look back, take a step back and say, okay, my feet were garbage. It was awful, right? That's basically what Drake May said. And I don't know how bad his feet were, but we've outlined that Bryce's feet were a lot of the problem, right? Where a lot of the problems can be solved just by his feet. And does he have the self-awareness to say, hey, a lot of this is me, right? Some of these times where the offensive line protects perfectly, we got guys open downfield and I run out of the pocket, that's me. But you have to be introspective, and we just don't know for sure right now if that's the case. Hopefully these bowl practices, you can continue to move into that area, and Chip Lindsey helps him with it. But for me, that's something that I always did. And a lot of it was because I had a crazy high school coach named Greg Carter who would not allow me to look at myself first before anything else. So it kind of takes that.
I had Drake May's dad as a graduate assistant. He was a great quarterback at North Carolina, and he had three brothers that all played. Two of them won national championships, one in basketball at North Carolina and one in baseball at Florida. So he was raised in a very competitive environment, so he was hard on himself.
Yeah.
So that really helped me that I told that we brought in Clyde Christensen also. Clyde coached Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Jameis Winston, and Andrew Luck. So we had him working every day with Drake. And with that credibility, they would say, "Ooh, this is I want to go where he's taught these guys to go." So it's our job as coaches to give the players every tool that they need to beat their competition. And I used to tell our coaches, if you don't help Jake get better and Jake doesn't realize he's getting better, then he's not going to have any confidence in you. And what's your worth to us? What's your value? Your value is how much you teach Jake to beat the opponent. And he's going to know that.
Yeah.
These guys aren't stupid. They're fully aware. So, and the craziness about a bowl game now is that I look at there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the Texas players are opting out. Another 5 or 6 are in the transfer portal. So I learned every year we went to 6 straight, 7 straight bowl games at North Carolina. Our best players didn't play.
Yeah.
They just decided not to play, and they were going to play in the Senior Bowl. They're going to their agent. Their agent told them, "I'll get you a chef. I'll get you a place to stay. I'll get you a trainer. I'll get you prepared for the draft. So why play in this ball game?" And I thought that was really hard for me.
Yeah,
I think it's hard for me, things.
And I'm not a coach. It's hard for me to see because as you get into once it used to be you got to wait till after college to deal with agents and things like that. And as much as you want them to have your best interests at heart, you have to remember they're working for them. The more money you get, the more money they get, right? So they do truly feel they can get you more money faster, but they're not thinking about your development or anything like that. They're thinking about how quickly can I get money in my pocket through you. And if everybody starts to kind of remember that, you can make much more informed decisions, right? Where maybe I don't talk to my agent about this. Maybe I'll talk to my coach, Mack Brown, because you do have the best interest at heart. You've done everything you can do, right? So by this time, you're like, hey, listen, if I think you shouldn't play in this game, I think that you would tell them. But they trust the agents much more because you get a little bit of money in your pocket and it feels like it's the agent that did it, but it's your game. Your game got you that money. And this is kind of a message to everybody if they're watching. It's your game that got you this opportunity. It's your game, the reason that guy even wants to work with you.
It is.
Right? So why are you now putting all the onus on him when it's you? It's you and your teammates and your family and your coaches. And it's a very stressful topic for me. I can't stand it because so many guys are losing their dream. And it's essentially them taking their own dream away because they're accelerating their development when they can slow it down and really become the player that they can be. It's pretty saddening for me. Well, and I'm not a coach.
And agents tell the guy that you could get hurt in the Texas-Michigan game, but you're fine playing in the Senior Bowl, which makes no sense.
With a bunch of strangers, with guys you don't know, and you know how that works.
You haven't been coached.
This guy's stepping right, you're stepping left, and we're not on the same page. Rather than finishing with your guys, and the story you told about Cedric Benson was incredible because I can remember that of like, I mean, it was a loss my last game. However, right, sitting there and just like, I cannot believe it's over because it goes so fast and you don't get that opportunity because your agent who has your best interest at heart is telling you you should not play with your guys, go play with strangers.
Yeah, Devin, Vince came into my office a couple of days after we beat USC in the national championship game, and he said, I need to talk. And I said, I got it. He said, I've been offered $20 million is what I'm going to make in the NFL. I can come back another year. If I'm your son, what do you think? I said, my son's short and slow. Not going to be an issue.
Not going to be an issue.
I'm not going to have this discussion. But I said, if you go to the NFL, you're going for money, and I got it. I totally understand. If you come back, you'll win the Heisman, most likely, if you stay healthy. We'll have another chance to win another national championship. You'll have more fun, but you could get hurt. And insurance isn't going to cover the $20 million, and you may not make that money. And he said, well, my family needs the money. And I said, then go. Mm-hmm. And I was all for him. And I said, you don't ever want to try to talk a young guy into coming back that thinks he should go. Mm-hmm. And so the coaches, by and large, do have the best interest of the player involved.
Well, I do have a unique perspective here because I got injured in the Orange Bowl, and I played. Right. Yeah, I played. And I remember teammates asking me at the week of, like, hey, are you going to play or not? Because Jalen Smith got hurt the year prior. It was big news. Notre Dame linebacker went from a top 5 pick to early second-round draft pick. And then before our game, Christian McCaffrey sat out. Leonard Fournette sat out. That is like the beginning of this becoming a national conversation. I played, and then I got hurt. And I know, like, the financial, I know the cost of that decision. I said I wouldn't change it because Jim Harbaugh created an environment. I wanted to be a part of that team. I wanted to be a part of that locker room. But I will say this, and this is my question to you, Coach. I think a lot of kids, they look at it and they say, the Ole Miss players, why, say that wasn't a playoff game. What do you mean? Why am I going to be loyal? My head coach wasn't loyal to me. My coordinators weren't loyal to me. And it seems just like a messy system here, Coach, that I don't blame coaches for leaving. I don't really blame players for sitting out these days either, because it seems like college football, which at its best should be about loyalty, team, a meritocracy, it's become self-serving, at least as far as like the headlines go when you see people moving around. What do you think?
No, Jake, I think you're exactly right. And I love your attitude so much because I would have played. Mm-hmm. And I've said I wouldn't have worried about getting hurt. If I got hurt, I could have gotten hurt on a motorcycle, could have gotten hurt in a car wreck. So, but you're so right. And it seems like there's so much greed right now. About 4 years ago, when they came in and started talking about NIL, I said the players should have been paid a long time ago. Mm-hmm. We're really stupid. That $15 a month, there should have been an addition to the scholarships. Maybe they should have given you guys $150,000 when you graduated. Mm-hmm. Maybe they should have gotten your parents to
which is great, right?
Yeah. But we should have had something in place long before we've allowed this to get out of hand. And when they started talking about what NIL meant, I'll never forget Sam Howell was our freshman quarterback at North Carolina. He stood up and said, I don't like it. Quarterback's going to make all the money. And then the other guys are going to be in that locker room. Then we're all going to be pointing fingers at who's got the most money. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what's happened. And I said, we'll never do away with amateurism. We'll figure this out, but they're not going to just pay players and not have a system. And now, Jake, you're so right. We don't have any system. We've got nothing in place for guidelines. There needs to be a salary cap. Drake May could have gone to a car dealership and made $2 million signing pictures. I mean, Tom Brady probably couldn't have done that because there's at least some guidelines in the NFL. So, and you're so right. Coaches will leave their team right now, just walk out and leave them and not go back for more money. So I thought if I was coaching right now, people have asked me, what would you tell your team? And I'd say, let's play as hard as we can at the end of the year. Let's all sit down and figure out what's best for each one of us. Mm-hmm. And that's tough,
all you can do.
But that's all you can do because it is about the individual right now. And we fought, you guys were told 100 times, don't go out and eat with an agent. Don't let an agent buy you anything. and now the agent's making all the calls. I mean, it's just it is so different. But we've got a calendar that doesn't work. We've got guys. I saw a guy tweeted out he was transferring, I think, from Tarleton State this weekend at halftime, and he was their leading rusher. I mean, you can't make some of this stuff up. Last year, the Penn State backup quarterback who played a lot on short yardage and goal line transferred during the playoffs. Now he started at Missouri and it worked for him. So I get it. I understand, but it's we've got to change the calendar. We are becoming the NFL, in my opinion, guys. Where we need to. The NFL studied this for years. They have rules. College football doesn't have any rules anymore. So if we're don't let players leave before their season's over. Don't let coaches leave before their season's over. Move the season back. Let's not play conference championship games if we're going to see people opting out of them so they can play in the playoffs. Let's have a tiebreaker. What are we going to do with the bowls? I was so happy to see Texas and Michigan get a good matchup because that's going to be fun. If they got a bad matchup, none of the kids would want to play. And this is fun. This is good. And I've talked to coaches about the Michigan situation. You all didn't have distractions. Your coaches wouldn't allow it. You were so focused, and we tried to keep a wall around the family. And right now, these kids have got social media thrown at them. They got rumors all over the place thrown at them. They've got so much stuff. I don't think it bothers them as much as it would have bothered us.
Because they're used to it.
It's normal.
It's their norm. So they're going to go practice. They're going to have fun. Yeah, we'll go to the ball game. Are you opting out? Yep. Oh, okay. You want to go get dinner? I mean, it's just different. We'd have beaten the guy up if he said, I'm going to opt out. And I remember, I think it was Anderson, guys, at Alabama was a captain, and they're playing maybe in the Sugar Bowl, and he said, I'm a captain, man. How can I make it important all year, and I tell the team it's all important, it's about team, and then I don't play because I'm going to make more money in there? That's not right. So it's a confusing time for us, but I think we've allowed these distractions to be in place that have hurt our game. And we've got to take some of those distractions out. We've got to take them out. If you transfer one time, you've got about a 63% chance to graduate. These guys are transferring 3 or 4 times. So they're not going to graduate. They're not going to have a community that's around them to take care of them when they get through, a place to stay. They're not going to have jobs.
Home.
And then I think we're going to have mental health issues.
Oh, yeah.
Because these guys aren't going to have money.
Yeah, because they're touching money that they would never see in a regular job, and they think that that's how life actually works, and it's just not.
No. They're going to have more money coming in than they're coming out. That's not the way this thing works.
Yeah. The job of leadership, like the NCAA or the decision makers, it's to like put guardrails in place to protect the interest of everybody, not the interest of themselves. Like the NCAA had been protecting their own interest, which is why we got here, but the interest of the way the NFL works, collectively bargained agreement where everyone's going in the same direction. I mean, I think Devin played with a broken foot. I mean, Devin every single week squeezed his potential drive at Michigan. How many autographs did you sign, Devin? I know you weren't getting paid from those. You know, I just think about it. It is absolutely crazy. I think we've just went too far in the other direction. We can settle somewhere back here in the middle. And that would be nice.
I agree. I asked Vince Young the other day, Devin, if you had NIL, would you still be playing? He said, absolutely, man.
Oh, yeah. There's no reason
for
me
to
leave.
If they get that figure, Dev, you want to go back? I think there's like a lawsuit to allow people 5 years.
I'm going to need some time because I got to get some exercising going. But I'm just telling you, I'm going to have Mack Brown in one ear, making sure that I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And I got one more year. I got a few more throws. I'm just telling you.
Well, Phillip Rivers just came back and played.
That's right.
I don't see why I can't, right?
That's right.
I just turned 34 yesterday.
There's no
he's
question.
167 years old and he played good in the NFL.
You're a young pup.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Well, Coach, it has been a pleasure. We really appreciate you joining us. To the Michigan fans, you can go check out the Stampede podcast to get the Texas side of the game. Of course, we got a lot of runway before that game kicks off. So at least here in Ann Arbor, we'll be covering all the breaking news. But, Coach, it has been an absolute pleasure. It's great to see you, and we'll touch base here as the game gets closer.
Well, guys, thanks for having me on, and we can touch base anytime you want. But you Michigan fans, you be proud of your place.
Yeah.
What a wonderful place. And all these, it's like life. It's like a roller coaster. Sometimes you get setbacks, but you know what? Taking negatives and turn them into positives is the best thing we do in life. And that's what you're going to do with this situation. And we'll see you in Orlando.
One more positive, Coach. I'm coming on your show. So
that's right.
That's very positive.
That's
very
right.
Positive.
So
that'll be fun.
But you're going to be sucking up to Vince and being nice to him.
Hey, man, what do you want,
his
man?
His head will get so big now. It'll be.
And I just want to let you know, I'm not hiding it. I'm telling you, I designed my whole game around what Vince Young was doing with you at Texas. So
it worked good for you and him. So I will say that to both.
Man, that was awesome stuff by Coach Mack Brown there. Man, can't wait to see those two teams take the field, assuming they take the field. It'll be a fun matchup. I did want to ask you real quick, Dev. He mentioned his approach to bringing in a new offensive coordinator and quarterback coach to mentor Drake May. We're talking about the head coach here. Where would you place bringing in a quarterback guru for Bryce in terms of importance? Or do you say, hey, you need to prioritize that in the next head coach as well?
I think that's of the utmost importance. We talked about how his feet held him back from being the player that he could possibly be and take all the strides he needed to take, because the facts are, from OU to Alabama, we thought there was a lot of improvement in there, but in those two games specifically, you could almost argue that in Ohio State it was worse, right? So from OU to Ohio State, like the feet and everything kind of got worse, and so that's just a product of not prioritizing the development of the quarterback specifically. And I think a quarterback coach, somebody, I mean, there are a lot of names out there. I'm just telling you, there are a lot of
Devin
names.
Gardner?
That's a name, but George Whitfield, right? There are so many guys throughout the history of quarterbacking that you can bring in that can specifically point to what his feet are doing and how they can be better. And I'm just telling you, I know it seems so trivial and such small things, but your feet are the most important thing. And Mike Jones just talked about it. He said when Drake May came in, he started with, man, my feet are getting me in trouble. Right. And so it makes a talented guy look subpar because your feet are not aligned with what the concept is doing, aligned with what your eyes should be doing. So I think that should be priority number one. And any head coach that is being interviewed and doesn't lead with what he's going to do to make sure Bryce Underwood is his best possible self for Michigan, I think that interview has to be over. Right? Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance. And if you got a good one, you got a real good shot. So I think that's the utmost importance. That's of the utmost importance. And hopefully that's the way it's being, attacked. And we hope to see so much improvement from Bryce in this bowl game, right? These extra practices are so important. Biff Poggi obviously believes in Bryce. And I just feel like you absolutely have to show real improvement from that Ohio State game, because nobody liked what they saw, but you can kind of remedy some of that and get positive mojo, positive energy going into the offseason if you put out a good showing. You don't have to throw 500 yards. However, you have to certainly look competent against a talented Texas defense.
Yeah, especially, the investment side of it, like Bryce is an $8-figure investment. So your secondary investment would be someone that could nurture that investment. So those things go hand in hand. And I think to put a
just
bow
like
on
in the NFL, when the quarterback makes all the money, who you need? The left tackle.
Right.
We got to protect that investment. That's why the left tackle gets paid so much,
Yep.
And then what you got to do on defense? You got to get a pass rusher to go attack that tackle and go get that quarterback so you can protect your investment on defense. I mean, it's all connected. And for Michigan, that's exactly what has to happen.
And even listening to Coach Brown talk, it's like you can only do this with stable, strong, clear, convicted leadership. So I look forward to the day when Michigan has clear football leadership. So we will be following that. We are standing by for any emergency podcast if any news breaks. But in the meantime, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode with an awesome guest from Mack Brown. And I think Dev will be joining their podcast, the Stampede podcast, at some point here in the near future. So we'll keep you guys caught up on that so you can see Devin tune in to the Stampede. So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, like. The push continues on, and we'll see you next week.